Okay, let us begin with our auspicious invocations. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, so our verse for the week is 1855. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. Do it again. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. And the English translation song. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, one can enter into the kingdom of God. Die. Okay, let's flip back just a few verses to chapter 18, text 40 from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, actually, no, that's not where that's where we started yesterday. Yesterday we read about the Varnas, and I think we stopped at 48. Okay, so we are on text 48. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham apinatyajat sarvarambha hidoshena dhumenagnir ivavrita. Krishna says, every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Purport. In conditioned life, all work is contaminated by the material modes of nature. Even if one is a Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifices in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, a Kshatriya, however pious he may be, has to fight enemies. He cannot avoid it. Similarly, a merchant, however pious he may be, must sometimes hide his profit to stay in business. Oh, I think we read this. Anyways, we'll go ahead. Not sure. These things are necessary. One cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is a Shudra serving a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite these flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature. A very nice example is given here. Although fire is pure, still there is smoke. Yet smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be the purest of all elements. If one prefers to give up the work of a Kshatriya and take up the occupation of a Brahmana, he is not assured that in the occupation of a Brahmana there are no unpleasant duties. One may then conclude that in the material world, no one can be completely free from the contamination of material nature. This example of fire and smoke is very appropriate in this connection. When in winter time one takes a stone from the fire, sometimes smoke disturbs the eyes and other parts of the body, but still one must make use of the fire despite disturbing conditions. Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. That is the perfectional point. When a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. When the results of work are purified, when connected with devotional service, one becomes perfect in seeing the self within, and that is self-realization. So yeah, here we are in the material world, and especially in this age of Kali, in Srimad Bhagavatam it said, Kalir dosha nidhe rajan, that this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, right? Kalir dosha, dosha means fault. Nidhe means the ocean. So we're here in the ocean of faults. So if you fall into the ocean, and it's an ocean of salt water, then two things are sure. You're going to get wet and you're going to get salty because you're an ocean of salt water. So, if you fall into the ocean, no one can criticize you, though. Look at you, you're all wet and you're all salty. So same thing in this material world, it's an ocean. We've fallen into an ocean of faults. So it's just goes with the territory. It's just inevitable that we're going to have faults, we're going to see faults, we're going to make faults, we're going to make mistakes. There's going to be faults in everything that we do. And that's just normal. You can't get away from it. Wherever you turn, there's going to be some fault because the ocean of faults. So what Krishna is saying here is that, Arjuna's on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and he has to fight and kill people. And some of the people that he has to kill are very clearly demons. And Arjuna can also assess that. But then some people are nice people, like Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya and others. So Arjuna's focusing on the faults and he's thinking, I can't do this because to kill my relatives like that, it's going to be a fault. But Krishna is saying, well, okay, you're thinking that you're going to run away from this faulty situation on the battlefield. But, even if you try to escape being a Kshatriya and try to go be a Brahmin or a Vaishya or a Sudra, whatever you do, there are going to be some faults. You just can't escape it. So we always think that the grass is greener on the other side, right? We always think that someone else's life is perfect. Oh, if I could just be that person. Oh, if I could just have their life and not my life. My life is full of problems and traumas and difficulties and, and that person, they're always happy, everything goes their way, everything works out for them. But we don't know, we don't see what's behind the curtain, what's behind, what they're hiding behind the problems, because it's the place of problems. Dukkalayam ashashvatam, that's the nature of this material world. The place of dukkha, or misery. So that's normal. Yeah, like Srila Prabhupada says, one may conclude that in the material world, no one can be completely free from the contamination of material nature. Yeah, I had a professor when I was at university. He said that for a while he was trying really hard to live a very pure life. He was going vegan, and he wanted to live his life in a way that didn't harm any creature. He just wanted to live a very nice, peaceful, symbiotic life, where he could benefit others, but he wouldn't be hurting anyone. And then, he got to the point where he was not eating any meat or eggs or fish or dairy or honey or, he wasn't wearing leather, and he was not, he was kind of living off the grid in the forest in a little, hut that he made out of trees that fell on their own accord or something like that, He was really trying to walk lightly on the earth. And then, so this was back in the 80s, probably. And he said one day he had to mail a letter, because then you had to mail letters. There was no email or, smartphones and all these things, WhatsApp, social media. So the only way you could get a message was either by telephone, which he didn't have, or mailing a letter. So one day he was licking the stamp, on his, put the stamp on his letter, and a friend said, "Oh, the glue that they use in these postage stamps for sticking them, it's made from horses' hooves." And then he was just like, "Oh no, there's just no way. It's just you can't get away from it. You have to, like, you can't live in the world without hurting someone or some, creature." So yeah, and it's true that, as soon as we light the fire to cook, or turn on an electric burner or anything, we're killing, whatever microorganisms are there in the vicinity of that fire or heating element. Whenever we drink water, there are so many microorganisms there in the water that are meeting their death as soon as they contact our stomach acids. So it's like you literally can't even breathe without killing something. So there's faults in every breath. But Srila Prabhupada ends his purport saying, when a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then all the defects are purified. So that's the point, is that we have to do everything in Krishna consciousness. When every breath we take is in the service of Krishna, when every step we take is in the service of Krishna, when every time we light the stove, it's to cook something for Krishna, every time we, do anything, it's in the service of Krishna, then all the faults become neutralized, purified. Even if we're walking to the temple or we're walking somewhere to do service for Krishna and we happen to step on an ant and kill him, Krishna frees us from all sinful reactions, as we're going to see in a minute, in 1866. So that's the only way to live in this world, right? It's the only way to live in a way that we're not getting inculcated in karma. And yeah, Krishna takes care. And as a result of such work, not only do we not get bad karma or any karma, but Prabhupada ends the purport saying that when we do our work in devotional service, we become perfect in seeing the self within. So not only do our actions become perfect, but we ourselves become perfect. We become self-realized souls by the mercy of Krishna. We're able to understand who we are, spirit souls, eternal servants of Krishna. Who is God? What is our relationship? All these things become clear by connection with Krishna. Okay, so even if there are faults, or so-called faults, it's still perfect if done with an attitude of devotional service for Krishna. Okay, good. Krishna consciousness ki jai. It's really saving us. It's the only saving grace in this world is Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we're just like every single breath we take, we're getting inculcated in heaps of karma, more karma than we can even burn off in lifetimes, just in one day. So everyone needs to be Krishna conscious. That's it. Text 49. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spriha naishkarmya siddhim paramam sanyasena digachati. Chaitanya, would you like to read?
One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain, by the practice of renunciation, the highest perfectional stage of freedom from reaction. Purport. Real renunciation means that one should always think himself part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore think that he has no right to enjoy the results of his work. Since he is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the results of his work must be enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. This is actual Krishna consciousness. The person acting in Krishna consciousness is really a sannyasi, one in the renounced order of life. By such a mentality, one is satisfied because he is actually acting for the Supreme. Thus, he is not attached to anything material. He becomes accustomed to not taking pleasure in anything beyond the transcendental happiness derived from the service of the Lord. A sannyasi is supposed to be free from the reactions of his past activities, but a person who is in Krishna consciousness automatically attains this perfection without even accepting the so called order of renunciation. This state of mind is called Yoga Rudh, or the perfectional stage of yoga. As confirmed in the third chapter, Yastva Atma Ratir Eva Syat, one who is satisfied in himself has no fear of any kind of reaction from his activity.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so this is one stage of perfection. Naishkarmya Siddhim. Siddhim means perfection, and Naishkarmya means free from karma. So the first stage of perfection is that, by doing everything connected with Krishna, we get free from all of our karma. And Krishna is basically saying that this is sannyas, because it means we don't have any desire for material enjoyment. We're not doing things for our own enjoyment, our own indulgence, our own sense gratification. We're doing everything for Krishna. So we get free from. And Prabhupada says in the purport, real renunciation means to know I'm a part and parcel of the Lord, and therefore whatever I do is for the enjoyment of the Lord. And that's my position, right? Part and parcel is like, Prabhupada sometimes says, like a screw in a machine. So a screw is an item in itself, right? It's a screw. It has its individual identity. It has a name, right? If you need a screw, you say screw. Everyone knows exactly what you're talking about. It's a thing that has its own separate existence, but it doesn't really have much use if it's just on its own. In order for it to really realize its purpose in life, realize its functionality, it needs to be in its place in the machine. And then it can actually do something, right? So the same thing, we're like little screws, part of the machine of Krishna. And when we're connected to Krishna, when our activities are aligned with the roles that he wants us to play for his pleasure, then we can make progress. But if a machine is not working right and it's shaking and shaking, and then the screw gets unscrewed and falls out on the floor, then that screw is not useful, right? If someone steps on it, it just hurts their foot, and that's it. It just becomes a disturbance. So that's the situation of us souls here in the material world. We fell out of the machine, and we're just lying on the floor, rolling around, and causing a potential danger to other people and ourselves. So we need to get screwed back in, right? That's our situation. We have a screw loose. We need to get screwed back into the machine. Need to get reconnected with Krishna. And then we just become part of what the machine is doing. And because Krishna is all good, then when we're connected to him and we're serving in alignment with his will, then obviously we're not getting any karma, because we're doing what Krishna wants us to do. And that's the whole message here for Arjuna, is that Arjuna doesn't want to fight. So he's acting like a screw that's fell out of the machine, saying, I don't want to do, Krishna, the purpose that you want me to fulfill here. And Krishna's like, no, you need to get screwed back into the machine and act according to what I want you to do, because that's who you are. That's what you're meant for. So, yeah. So then when Arjuna is doing what Krishna wants him to do, then he's no longer responsible. Or maybe a more relatable analogy is like, if you work for a company and your boss asks you to do something, and turns out that thing was, caused some problem for somebody else. There was a complaint because you did exactly what your boss told you to do, but there were some unforeseen consequences which caused someone to file a complaint or a lawsuit or something like that. So then, because you were just an employee acting on the orders of the employer, then you're not responsible for the company. So like that. Okay. All right, let's go to text 50. So now Krishna is going to take us to the next level of perfection. First level of perfection was Naishkarmya Siddhim, being free from all karma. Siddhim prapto yata brahma tatapnoti nibodhame samasenaiva konteya nishta jnanasya ya para. Arjuna, would you like to read?
Maybe in a couple once I'm driving. Sorry.
Okay. Kritika, are you there? Or you're working? I think Kritika's not there. Okay, I'll read this one. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage of Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. All right, so now Krishna is going to give us something a little higher than just, connecting our varnashram duties to him and being free from karma. He's going to take it to the next level of perfection. So Prabhupada says, the Lord describes for Arjuna how one can achieve the highest perfectional state simply by being engaged in his occupational duty, performing that duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One attains the supreme stage of Brahman simply by renouncing the result of his work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That is the process of self-realization. The actual perfection of knowledge is in attaining pure Krishna consciousness. That is described in the following verses. All right, so now Krishna is again going to give something from more of a yoga point of view. So let's do text 51, 53. Buddhya Vishuddhaya Yukto Drityatmanam Niyamya Cha Shabdadim Vishayam Styaktva Ragadvesho Vyudasya Cha Vivikta Sevilagvashi Yata Vakaya Manasaha Dhyayan Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam Vairagyam Samupashrita Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam parigraham vimuchya nirmamo shanto brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Go ahead, Pragati.
Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his mind, body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self realization. Good. When one is purified by intelligence, he keeps himself in the mode of goodness. Thus, one becomes the controller of the mind and is always in trance. He is not attached to the objects of sense gratification and he is free from attachment and hatred in his activities. Such a detached person naturally prefers to live in a secluded place. He does not eat more than what he requires and he controls the activities of his body and mind. He has no false ego because he does not accept the body as himself, nor has he a desire to make the body fat and strong by accepting so many material things. Because he has no bodily concept of life, he is not falsely proud. He is satisfied with everything that is offered to him by the grace of the Lord, and he is never angry in the absence of sense gratification, nor does he endeavor to acquire sense objects. Thus, when he is completely free all material things, and that is the state of self realization of Brahman. The stage is called the Brahma Bhuta stage. When one is free from the material conception of life, he becomes peaceful and cannot be agitated. This is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 270. Apuryamanam achala pratishthat
Yamanam Achala.
achala pratishtham samudram apah pravishyanti yadvad tadvad kama yamu pravishyanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
All right. Yeah. So the previous stage of perfection was being freed from karma by doing your duties for Krishna, his pleasure. And now the next stage of perfection is Brahman realization, right? Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate means attaining this Brahman platform, which is basically self-realization, right? Realizing that I'm a soul, right? I'm not just a material person here in the material world doing my material duties and trying to connect them to Krishna so I can get free from my material karma. But I'm a spirit soul and I actually have nothing to do with this world or this body or these things. And therefore, I don't get upset about things anymore because, yeah, I live without attachment or hatred because, yeah, I know that as a soul, I'm not affected by anything material. And also I don't make a lot of effort to get material things. I just eat little, control the mind, control the speech, control the lust, anger, and things like that. I know that I don't own anything, so I have no sense of false proprietorship. And I'm always peaceful because I just accept that, the bare necessities of life that come without too much difficulty by the grace of the Lord. And I put my energy into spiritual life, which gives me a lot of, peace and happiness. So no problem. Yeah, so this is the situation of the person. Prabhupada says, because he has no bodily concept of life, he is not falsely proud. So that's important. Usually pride comes from bodily concept of life, that I'm proud because I'm, beautiful, or, I have, or I'm strong, or I'm intelligent. And these things are all to do with the body or material things that we possess. I have a lot of money, I have a nice car, I have a nice house, I have a, nice family or whatever, body or bodily relationships and all these things. But person in the Brahman platform, he knows that I'm not this body and these relationships are temporary and these things also are not mine. It's all just Krishna's energy. And I'm just trying to serve Krishna. And none of this really matters very much in the ultimate issue. It'll be all over sooner or later. So Prabhupada says, when one is free from the material conception of life, he becomes peaceful and cannot be agitated. So that's the situation. Nice life on the Brahman stage of Brahman realization. Right, now Krishna is going to explain a little more about this Brahman platform, what it's like to be on the Brahma Bhuta platform. Text 54. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param.
Is this the famous verse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought of it.
Let's see. Aruna, are you able to read or no? It's like no. Okay. Chaitanya, back to you.
Yes. I was thinking, do you want to read the translation musically or should I read?
For this translation, we have a rap.
Okay,
Have you
I
heard
want
it
to try.
before?
No.
Okay, good. Goes like this. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. Yes, he becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He's equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. And he becomes fully joyful. Yes, he becomes fully joyful. Woo!
Young Money.
What's that?
It said Young Money. It's the name of like this rap label.
Okay. I'm not a rapper, but anyways, somebody else could do a better job with that. All right, go for it, Chaitanya.
To the impersonalist, achieving the Brahmabhuta stage, becoming one with the Absolute, is the last word. But for the personalist or pure devotee, one has to still go further to become fully engaged in pure devotional service. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in a state of liberation called Brahmabhut, oneness with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute, one cannot render service unto him. In the Absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor, yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. In the material conception of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full in living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleansed of all dirty water. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain, because he is full in the service of the Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment, because he knows that every living being, every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower positions are ephemeral, and the devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearances or disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of equal value. This is the Brahmabhut stage, and this stage is attained very easily by the pure devotee. At that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria, and the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. And there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth. There is no fear from the senses when you are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikunt or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in this material world is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age.
Jai. Thank you. Yeah, so very nice purport here. This last part, that last several sentences of the purport are all Prabhupada's paraphrase of one verse, famous verse by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, one of our acharyas in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Not sure when he lived, but it was a while ago. I'm not sure if it was around the time of the six Goswamis or a little after. Anyways, he was a great follower of Lord Chaitanya, and he wrote a book called the Chaitanya Chandramrita, the nectar of the moon-like Lord Chaitanya. So this is a very well-known verse from that that one who has received the merciful glance of Lord Chaitanya, the Karuna Kataksha, then these are the symptoms. So if you have these symptoms, you know you've received the merciful glance of Lord Chaitanya. First symptom is that merging and becoming one with God or one with the Brahman is like hellish. You'd rather go to hell because at least then in hell you might have some chance to somehow serve the Lord. But if you merge into him, then it's all over. No devotional service for you, no loving relationship possible. And then second symptom, going to the heavenly planets, Swargaloka. It's like the word that he uses is it Akasha Pushpayate. That it's like a flower in the sky. Pushpa means flower and Akash means sky. It probably translates here phantasmagoria, but the word that Prabhupada Saraswati, he says a flower in the sky. In other words, like if you see a flower in the sky, it's like it doesn't, no substance, it doesn't actually exist, right? There's no flower that grows in the sky. Flowers grow on the earth. So this idea of enjoyment in the heavenly planets is like, what enjoyment is there? Just sense gratification? That's not enjoyment. That's just misery. And being separated from Krishna for so long, because at least like we're lucky here on earth, we have a life of only maximum 100 years. There, they live for 100 years, celestial years, which is like for every day that we live, they live 6 months. And then they live those 6-month long days, 365 of those in 1 year, and they still live 100 years. So that long they have to stay just being tormented by sense gratification and being far from Krishna here in the material world, with very little chance of becoming, with very little devotee association or chance to really serve Krishna. So that is just not enjoyment at all. It's totally undesirable situation. And then the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. So usually a serpent, has teeth, and if they bite you, you get poison and you die. So serpent's teeth are very dangerous. But there seems that out of all the teeth that a serpent may have, some of them are poison teeth and some of them don't. Like probably the ones in the front only, they're attached to some like poison sacs, right? So if those are broken off, even if that serpent bites you, there's no poison, well, maybe he's just going to make some holes in your skin, but you're just going to be fine. It's just going to be like some scratches there. So, yeah, so when we become a devotee, then our senses are like that. We have senses, but they don't harm us. Our senses don't drag us into sense gratification because they're totally engaged in devotional service. So then we can use our senses. We can still eat nice Krishna prasadam. We can still listen to really nice kirtan music. We can still dance in kirtan. We can still have friends with devotees. We can still get married and have family, children, and house and everything. But it doesn't become a cause of degradation. It doesn't drag us down. It doesn't poison us. It doesn't poison our consciousness because we can do everything in Krishna consciousness, and instead of degrading, it actually purifies us and uplifts us. So there's no fear from the senses. And another symptom is that, now this one is a little hard, but you see the whole world as a happy place. That everyone, this world is just a happy place. It's as good as Vaikuntha, because everyone is a spirit soul, everyone's eternal servant of Krishna, and everyone's just serving Krishna in different ways, directly or indirectly. And everything is exactly as it should be, because Krishna is the supreme controller. And nothing happens except by his will. So it's all just perfect. And then the last one is that the highest person in this material world is no more significant than an insect. So even in the verse says, even Brahma and Lord Shiva are just no better than insects. In other words, so that's the point here of the verse, text 54, 54, it says, Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. You see all living beings equally, whether one's a human or a dog or a demigod or an ant. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. You see everyone equally because we're all souls and we're not these bodies. So, okay, the soul may have an ant body now, may have a demigod body now, or may have a dog body, human body. It's just a body. We're not the body. And the soul within the body, souls are all equal. And so it says that he's equally disposed towards every living entity. So, yeah, that's difficult too, right? But such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So we have to pray to Lord Chaitanya, take shelter of Lord Chaitanya to be able to come to this stage, which is essentially the Brahma Bhuta platform, where we actually have true spiritual vision. And like Prabhupada says, on this stage, the person is fully joyful because, everything is just nothing to lament, nothing to desire, because everything is perfect and complete. We're thinking only of Krishna. Krishna is the reservoir of pleasure. We're constantly connected to Krishna. It's like our pipeline is connected to the reservoir of pleasure, and pleasure is just flowing without any obstruction. Because what the obstructions are material attachments, our anarthas, those things cause blockages. Even though now we're chanting Hare Krishna, so we're connecting to Krishna, but there's so many clogs in the pipe. And so the happiness is not flowing. So we need to, anartha nivritti, we need to clear away these clogged drain, pour the Drano down, Drano of the holy name, just chant very intensely, focus, concentration with feeling, and then Krishna will come along like a transcendental plumber and clean out the clogged drain, and then the bliss will flow, and then we'll be fully joyful all the time. Yeah. Okay. So here it says, we're not hankering for anything. This means we're not hankering for anything material, not lamenting over anything material. But we may have spiritual desires to serve Krishna, desires to associate with Krishna. We may lament our fallen condition, right? We may lament that we made the big blunder of accepting this material body, turning away from Krishna or something like that. So, but this is talking about how materially, like, I don't need anything. Something gets lost or stolen. All right, whatever. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Everything is happening by his will. So that's the Brahma Bhuta stage. And then this verse also takes up to, so first stage of perfection was in the last verse, right? The verse before that. Sorry, verse 49. Naishkarmya siddhim. So being free from karma by doing everything for Krishna. Then the next stage of perfection is Brahma Bhuta, this transcendental platform, being on the spiritual platform we just described. And then the third stage of perfection is the last line, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. That in that state, when one comes to the Brahma Bhuta platform, then he attains pure devotional service unto me, Krishna says. So that's the highest perfection. Of course, devotional service also has its stages, right? But here it's pure devotional service because he's already on the Brahma Bhuta platform. So Brahma Bhuta means no material infection, right? No material consciousness, total, just spiritual consciousness. So we take that pure Brahma Bhuta spiritual consciousness, free from material desires, free from material lamentation, free from material attachment, free from any material misconceptions about our identity or our purpose or anything else. And then in that state, we start serving Krishna. Then that pure devotional service. It's not mixed, right? Because there's no material motivations. There's nothing material that's going to stop us because we're not interested in anything material. Nothing material that's going to distract us because, everything's Krishna. We just see Krishna everywhere. So, yeah. So right now we're trying to do devotional service, but we didn't get to the Brahma Bhuta platform yet. So we still have some obstacles in our service, some distractions, that we're struggling with. We still have some clogs in our devotional pipeline that need to get cleared out. But anyways, we're working on it. So you just keep serving Krishna and Krishna helps. All right. So now Krishna is going to say that when we come to this state of pure devotional service unto him, then we become eligible to understand him properly and to go back to him, basically. Pakmam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Jai Krishna. Yeah. All right. Who wants to read? Oh, Arjuna, would you like to read? Are you still driving? He's dancing.
Yeah, I'm still driving.
Okay.
Yeah, I was dancing.
Who just read? Was it you, Pragati, or was it Chaitanya? Okay, go ahead, Pragati. Read.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation, nor by the non devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham Prakashasya Sarvasya. He is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identities. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me, supports the monist theory one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No, Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree, not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of the Brahma Bhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta stage develops, and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord, and by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that stage of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra 4.1.12 confirms this. Aprayant tatrapta tatrapihi darshatam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life.
Jai. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada talks a lot here about what is real liberation and what is not liberation. So yeah, in the current state, we're trapped in this material body. And so there's so many difficulties due to our material life. So people are thinking, oh, let me get liberated from this body. And just merge, right? Become one with God, and that's liberation. Like Prabhupada says that the green bird going into the green tree. But Prabhupada says the green bird doesn't go into the green tree to try to become one with the tree. It goes in there because there's some reason, right? There either there's some fruits there, or maybe they have the nest there, or whatever. They're going to meet another bird there to talk to or do some mating ritual. They have some activities going on in that tree, right? Just some desires that they have to fulfill that they're going to the tree for. So in the same way in the spiritual world, we don't go to Krishna to merge with Krishna. We go with Krishna to engage in all kinds of, enjoyable activities with Krishna through service, right? Yeah. So, yeah, this reminds me of that Instagram. I did an Instagram post. Do you see that one with the dolphins and the drop of water?
Yeah.
That was a while ago. That was my last one. I haven't done it for a long time. And as Prabhupada talks about that, he says, impersonalists give the example of the river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities in the ocean if we go deep. Such acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean's depths. Yeah, he gets that from Rupa Goswami. He talks about that in the beginning of Bhakti Rasa Gita Sindhu. That we don't want to just become like a drop of water and merge with the ocean and basically commit spiritual suicide, but we want to be like, like a fish or a shark or a dolphin that's swimming and having all kinds of activities there, diving deep into the ocean of devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That means the ocean of nectarian devotion. So, yeah. So then how do we do that? By service. So, yeah, Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami that actually real devotional service begins after liberation, right? Because that's when our devotional service becomes pure and continuous and filled with love, right? Because nothing is blocking the flow of love. Nothing's blocking our devotion. There's no impediments. And then it just becomes pure and spontaneous and automatic and continuous and very joyful. Yeah. So this is what we want. This is the actual liberation. We don't want to go to heavenly planets. We don't want to, merge into anything. We just want to serve Krishna. All right. Prabhupada says university degrees are not helpful. If you want to understand God, you're not going to understand him just by, going to university and taking a religious studies course or something. There are so many scholars who got PhDs in studying religion and philosophy of religion and Eastern religion, and even, focusing on, Shastra, like Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, or even some of the writings of our acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami. There's like mundane scholars who have done their PhDs in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but they don't become devotees, even though they're reading those transcendental literatures, because they're not doing devotional service. So our studies always have to be done in conjunction with service. And then we can actually understand, because then Krishna gives us the qualification to be able to enter into the understanding, right? We need mercy for that. That's why Krishna says, tatvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. He says, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him significantly, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. Self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So knowledge is not something that you just get by like studying. Knowledge is something that is imparted, it's bestowed, right? And so we have to approach someone who has knowledge and hear from them, but not just hear from them, but also pariprashnena and sevaya. We have to serve them. Those two things have to go hand in hand. And also our attitude has to be submissive, not challenging, not that I know better than you. So yeah, approach someone who's a self-realized soul, a great devotee, an advanced devotee. Ask them questions and listen to the answers submissively, and also serve that person. Because when they become pleased with our submissive attitude and with our service, then what happens? They become very favorably and start to pray to Krishna for us. And they ask Krishna, this person is so nice. Just see how they're being so humble. They're so sincere, asking such nice, thoughtful questions. And also they're, trying to serve me in different ways. Please help them. Please help this person. Please help them advance, help them get free from their attachments, help them to overcome their difficulties, and make them a pure devotee. And so when a pure devotee prays on our behalf, then we're very, very fortunate. But then Krishna's like, oh, okay, sure. If that's what you want. Because Krishna likes to please the pure devotees. Krishna actually becomes, at least he feels like he's indebted. He considers himself a debtor to his pure devotees. So as soon as he can see some opportunity to try to, pay off the debt, then he's like, oh yeah, I have to do this. No question. Because I'm indebted to this person, I'm dependent on this person. And so whatever they want, I have to do. That's how Krishna sees it. Especially for someone who's, preaching, someone who's like spreading Krishna consciousness. Krishna is very indebted because he wants this to be done and he's not doing it himself. He needs us to do it. Not that he needs to, but that's how that we can get the good. And so when we do it, then he's like, oh, that's so happy. Like there's something that you need done that you can't do yourself. Like let's say you're sick or you broke your leg and you're lying in bed and you can't get up and get your prasadam. And someone goes and brings you prasadam. You're like so indebted to them, right? So grateful. Afterwards, that person asks you something, you're like, how can I say no? They fed me when I was like incapable of getting it myself, right? They took care of me when I was helpless. So yeah, so the Guru, Krishna becomes like that. That's the devotee who's dedicated their life to propagating the holy name, propagating Krishna consciousness. That's why to offend a person like who's doing that is very severe, right? Krishna himself feels indebted to that person who's dedicated their life to spreading Krishna consciousness. And then we come along and I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. We make some critical comment. Krishna's just like, what? Who the heck do you think you are? Get out of here. He throws us out of the devotional community. So we have to be very careful about that. Okay, it's after 4. We better stop. Any reflections?
All these purports are deep.
Right?
Yeah, every line makes us think. Like they say, when lust and desire goes after that pure devotion,
Then we become attached to the service of the Lord.
we need to first free from, and then I feel like I'm not doing like pure devotional service because still we have some desires and a lot of things happening.
Mm.
Not even on a stage of 0 or 1. It seems.
Anyways, at least we're sincere. You just have to be sincere and keep trying. We'll get there. Yeah, Prabhupada says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. So yeah, basically understanding who we are eternally as in our spiritual forms and serving Krishna in that spiritual form. We got a long, long way to go.
And the best thing, like here when they say when rivers enter, ocean is still like when the desire, incense flow of desire comes in, like it's like a river, like the river into the ocean, which is ever being filled by, but is always still.
Yeah.
Desires come, but the ocean is still.
Yeah, so that has to be our mind. Some
Yeah.
desire comes in and we're just like, all right, there's a desire there. I don't have to fulfill it. I don't have to act on it. I'll just
That is
relax.
so tough.
Yeah. Okay, Jai, we better end. Thank you all very much for being here. Oh, I don't know if we're gonna have class tomorrow. Are we going to Houston, Drishta? Okay, we probably won't have class tomorrow because most of us are gonna be going to a little kirtan event in a nearby city. So, we'll be back on Saturday. Yeah,
Saturday.
we'll probably have class on Saturday. All right, see you after the day after tomorrow. What are you crying about, Arjuna? You're coming with us. Oh no?
I'm not coming. So that's why I'm crying.
Okay, we're gonna miss you.
I'll miss you.
All right, Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful class.
Oh, let me just see who's out here on. Oh, we got. Or Jai Shri Ram's not here today. Everyone's just saying Hare Krishna, hello. Radhe, Radhe. Jai. All right, well, thanks for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.